Okay, thank you. So my name is Lisa Hogenam. I'm a researcher at the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. And I work on two European projects where we're mapping existing databases to the OMOP CDM. And one of them is basically implementation of an ICHOM set for hand and wrist disorders. So many surveys in there. And that's why I was very interested to join you guys. So thanks for having me.
Great. And I think since we're a smaller group today, why don't we all just kind of do introductions? So since I'm already talking, I'll start. So obviously you found me, so you have an idea who I am. So I'm Nicole Gerlang. I'm the lead data analyst for the Connect cohort, which is a cohort being run by the National Cancer Institute. It's a prospective cohort where we're looking at the development of all cancers. It's a cancer prevention study. So we're recruiting people, hopefully before they have cancer, in their 30s through their 70s, and then following the etiology of any disease that develops. And we're collecting a whole bunch of different types of data. So we too have survey data, which is how I got involved in this. We want to be able to map to OMOP and share that data and harmonize across other studies with similar data. We get EHR data, pathology reports. We'll be getting images. We're planning to expand to wearables as well. So a lot of different types of data to help us understand the development and early treatment of cancer. So as I said, the survey work is what got me involved in this. So I'm very big on harmonization and reproducibility, largely because up until now, I spent all my time as an analyst inheriting data sets that were not necessarily collected with thought to how they would be analyzed. And so one of the things I really liked about Connect is they brought me on before data were collected so that I had a say in the back end data structure and how it was collected and held and processed so that we could get from collection to analysis sooner. All right, I'm just going to go clockwise from my screen. So, Monse, you're next.
So, Montse Garcia Closas, I used to work with Nicole at the National Cancer Institute, mainly, with prospective studies like Connect, but also with many other epidemiological studies that we're trying to combine data and often survey data. So high motivation. I moved recently, 2 years ago already, to the Institute of Cancer Research. Now I'm the PI of one of these prospective studies that has been running for 20 years. So a lot of work in harmonizing within the study, between studies. So all of this is very relevant. But I'd like to hear also what European projects, maybe after we hear from Diane, what European projects you're working on. I didn't catch that, so it might be good to hear.
Okay, Diane.
My name is Diane Corey. I am a data team manager for the Critical Path Institute, and we do kind of a lot of the harmonization of data. We've got certain disease consortia that we have within CPath, but we collect data from anybody who is willing to share. And what we do is we'll make that data available through a couple of our different platforms. A lot of the times we will put the data up as we get it from contributors, but then we do go back and we standardize. So we standardize both to SDTM and OMOP. Because we get a wide range of data and we have multiple different projects that are going on with that data. We get EHR, we get registry, we get clinical trial data. So depending on the project that is going on at the time, we standardize to the appropriate either SDTM or OMOP right now. So we get all kinds of data. We have been trying to get more and more into OMOP. So we've got EHR data that has already been put into that, but we also try to figure out how to get our clinical data and our registry data into OMOP as well, because people want to pool all of that data and try to do analyses with it. involves some challenges for us, and surveys is definitely one of that. So we get surveys from all different kinds of studies, registry, clinical trials, some EHR, but mostly the registries and the clinical trials have been giving us a little bit of just trying out what we're supposed to do to get it all together, and that brought me here.
Great. Yeah, and Diane has presented for us on the work they're doing and the mapping they've been able to accomplish so far. So that's sort of one of the goals of the group, is kind of bring together everybody's individual efforts and, share out how we're approaching it, and then hopefully begin to develop some standards and best practices so that we can help other people do the same. So we're a relatively young group. This is our second year. So we're still trying to kind of develop how best we can help each other and help the community. But we keep moving forward, keep getting new information. So I think we're going to get there. So Lisa, did you want to go ahead and talk about what European studies you're working on? Because I know once you had that question, and then we'll talk about the global symposium.
Yes, of course. So I have two European projects that are mostly focused on different aspects of rehabilitation medicine. So one is for patients with upper extremity disorders. And basically, we aim to develop prediction models to help decision making, because we have quite a lot of treatment options, but most outcomes that are relevant to patients are reported in form of patient-reported outcome measures, sometimes clinician-reported outcome measures, patient-reported experience measures. So that's where all the surveys come into play. And the other project I'm working on is about the whole stroke care pathway. So that's actually a quite new project that we're just starting. And in that project, we have EHR data, clinical trial data, registry data. So yeah, we're also trying to bring it all together. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So what's lovely is we're all doing a lot of this work, and I think we've all made progress on the work, and like I said, trying to consolidate that and share it out. So the week before my vacation, so the week before last, on the community call, they basically had breakout sessions to get people to kind of brainstorm things they could present at the collaborator showcase. So the collaborator showcase is part of the Odyssey Global Symposium, and it's an annual meeting that's being held in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And so I just sent everybody the link in the chat to the description of the showcase. But basically the goal is like, what can, sharing what you can to help the community. So they've got a list of topics, including, observational standards and management, methodological research, open source analytics development, clinical research from Odyssey's analytic use cases, clinical characterization, population level estimation, patient level prediction, and community development. And so from sort of doing this brainstorming with the group, there are a couple of things from Connect that I think would be worth sharing out. And so one of the things we've developed is basically a pipeline for processing the EHR data that we get from our sites. So we have 10 sites. They're all mapping to OMOP, but as you know, just because you're mapping to OMOP doesn't mean the data, they're better shape than before map to OMOP, but there can be issues and variation in how the sites process the data. And so basically the pipeline will go through, make sure we have what we're supposed to have where it's supposed to be. So the right types of facts are in the right tables, that the vocabulary is updated. So we have some sites who are using outdated vocabularies and things like that. So it will go through and update those and check for other issues. And then it puts out a report so what issues could be fixed, which things we need to go back to the sites with. And then it basically reads the data into BigQuery, which is the SQL database that we use for running the analytics. So I'm kind of, our we've got a couple of data scientists who've been working on that pipeline on my team. And so I'm kind of excited to actually share their work. And again, something that might be helpful to other people who are doing the same thing, trying to process EHR from multiple sources and get it, as aligned as possible. And so when I started thinking about what we might have to present, Diane, I thought about what you'd presented to us about the kind of mapping you've already done. And then Monsi, some of the stuff we talked about at FAIR and the tools Jay is working on might be a good fit too, just other ways to kind of get to harmonization. So I wanted to bring it up. The deadline is a little sooner than later. So it's Tuesday, July 1st. And basically you just submit a brief report. There's more descriptors about needs to be included. So it's a minimum of 200 words and a maximum of 1,000 words, excluding references and citations and authors and things. So anyhow, I just wanted to bring it up and see what people thought. I also know, not everybody is able to go to the meeting, but we might be able to coordinate with people who are to help present things for people who can't. So I think it might still be worth doing, a poster or something, even if you can't be there, as long as we can, have somebody who's available to stand by the poster. So it can be a poster or a 7-minute talk. The oral presentations are really minimal. So they do have basically a peer review group that will review the briefs. And I believe you'll be notified by Wednesday, August the 20th. If you were selected and what you were selected for.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is visibility of this working group an aim in this work
Yeah, I think
symposium? So do you want to, do people know that we exist, and do you want to have maybe a poster just on
our
what we're
group.
doing, in addition to maybe some things that you go deeper into the examples that you talked about, or not?
Yeah, no, I think that is that's definitely a possibility, as well as the more specific one. I do think we're getting a little bit more on the map because we've done the survey. We're doing it, one of the sections in the book. We've got people now from vocabulary and themis and stuff that we're starting to meet with and talk with. But I definitely think as broad of a community reach as we get, because again, we do want people to share things they've already done or struggles they're having, so that we can, share links to the work that's been done, and then, help develop other things. So yeah, I think that's definitely an option. Inform people more.
Yeah, I wonder if we can kind of combine those two ideas of the challenges that we're all facing that we know about, and then maybe some of the strategies that individually we've tried, to tackle some of those challenges.
Yeah, and
I don't
sorry,
know.
Diane, I didn't mean to put you up. Go ahead.
No, because I really like the idea of maybe in a more formal setting, kind of broadcasting what our group is doing, or, trying to accomplish. I know that a lot of people already know, but I'm just wondering if something more concrete would kind of help. And I'm just thinking the challenges that we're trying to talk through might make people aware a little bit more in depth, possibly, of what we're trying to accomplish.
Now, and I was going to say the other thing we have going on at the symposium is we are doing a workshop. So I blocked us out 2 hours a time. I can share out the blurb I wrote for it. I might have shared out before, I don't remember, but I'll share it out. But basically, getting people into the room so we can actually, while we're live in person, kind of write out some of these things, like what have we found are good practices? What are we, trying to work on? What pain points do we need to address? Who might be there who hasn't responded to the survey or come to the group yet that might be able to share survey work. So depending on what the schedule is, and I'll see if I can find out, if we did the poster ahead of that, it
Yeah.
might be nice to get people funneled into the workshop.
Recruit people for the
Yeah.
workshop. Yeah.
Yep.
To have,
Yeah.
you know, to have the larger, you know,
I feel that
conversations.
understanding this kind is quite important, because I think if it's after the workshop, you might, think about differently.
Yeah.
But that would be an important purpose if it's before, to bring
Mhm.
attention and
Mhm.
then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
write
like what
yourself a note to
Diana
find
was
out.
suggesting. You don't want to be just talking about a poster just about the principles, but if you make something concrete, then people will find it more. Some examples of what we're doing, so the main purpose and some of the key
Mhm.
challenges and how we are addressing them. I think that would be good. I think it would be good even for us as a group,
Yes, probably.
to summarize that and see. We've been meeting long enough that actually that will bring things together.
Yep.
If you have if you want to submit a 1,000 word, if it was just a short abstract, it would be hard. But a 1,000 word and a poster, that might be appropriate for this.
Yeah, and when you said specifics, what I would like to do, so we don't really have enough done yet for a chapter in the book. So that's why they basically have a new section in the book called data types. And so we're in there as the survey data type, and it's literally 400 words. It's a really tight chapter. So it's more or less, we exist. This is what we're trying to do. This is how you find us. And so, yeah, being able to expand on that for the brief, because that'll end up in the, you know, wherever they publish the abstracts. And then having the poster, I think, would definitely help expand on that. But I would want help from all of you to actually share out your specific examples, like, you know, for the poster, not, you know, and to help with the abstract. So, you know, a summary, Dana, you know, of what you presented, you know, Lisa, if you know, can describe some of your efforts on surveys so far, you know, and Monsi, maybe at your end, it's more working on tools and getting the data cleaned up, you know, pre-harmonization. I think those kinds of, you know, having some, like literally having a poster of specific study examples, and then where to find more information on those studies would be a good way to make it more concrete than just, you know, these are our principles and our OKRs and stuff.
Yeah. Since you're saying that, actually giving examples, because we have a kind of a timeline usually, right? Data collection when preparing, and it was early on when you're thinking about collecting the data versus studies, existing data, and then within the study and between studies. So if you put that framework, they'll have examples in the different stages,
parts of the timeline,
so that the examples are distributed. I think that will show also the different areas where these discussions are important. It's not only when, because each of us might be thinking about a very specific application, like when I'm trying to combine data from multiple studies in a consortia, but that's kind of comes at the end. But if we have examples of things in all this, in this sort of research pathway, that might be good to outline that pathway and give examples at different.
Yeah, yes, that would be helpful. Maybe I'll just send out a thing to the group for everybody to kind of give an example and where they are in that continuum. Because like, Jim
if you could
pops
drop a
into mind
continuum
too.
graphically, that would be helpful. It would actually also help us think about putting together all the things that we've been discussing in that framework.
Like where can we implement things that we've accomplished? Where in this process are there gaps in how to do this? And then I was also thinking, you know, Jim's got a survey, they're just starting. So we have an example of like at the very beginning, data hasn't been collected yet. And then, you know, Generations is 20 years in, you know, Connect is a baby
in the middle,
but we've started. So I think, we might have a nice representation. And then, you know, Lisa, you're getting things from registries and stuff. So these again are pre-existing that you're pooling in to try to combine with other data. And Diane, is that a similar?
Yeah, we're at the end as well. Yep.
So I think, I think we have some nice representation in the group as to where we are. So maybe we'll do that as a homework assignment, like have everybody write, you know, 400 words on like where they are in the continuum and, you know,
I think
a summary of the process.
If you draft maybe just graphically that
Continuum.
continuum, we can
Yeah.
provide comments on that, and then I think it will be easier for us it will be kind
To
of
plug
obvious for
into
us
it.
to place
Yeah.
where are we, or the examples, because some of us are in all these different stages.
Yeah.
But then for this poster, we should pick a few. I mean, one example. I mean, you cannot present a lot of things, so we need to maybe present 2 or 3 examples that you want to highlight based on that illustrate some of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And
points.
we've also had Piper has presented. So I know we can, basically what I do is get from everybody and then figure out what fits in where, or if we can even pool a couple that are at the same spot.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Or just pick one. It's just to illustrate it. I don't think you need to be comprehensive.
Don't want it to get
this
too
type of
detailed.
thing.
I'm a big collator of things. Like once I have information, I want to get it all together. But just because it's not in the poster doesn't mean we couldn't do something like that for the wiki too.
Yeah.
Because I like all, I don't know, there's some things I'm uber organized about, and that's one of them. Like once I have a piece of information, I want to know how it fits with all my other information and combine it.
It's a useful exercise for us to get to see where we are, what we have accomplished. But for the presentation, you may want to then pare
it down.
That
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then what was it? There was another thought I had, but it left when I was getting excited about combining all the information. Oh, I know. I've also been talking to a group that's working out of South Africa, and they're doing a lot of those standardized clinical surveys. Names are escaping me right now, but they've actually completed mapping and have ETLs. And so I'll reach out about including them as well, because that was one of the things we were interested in, like what's our lowest hanging fruit. And, what we discussed for the OKRs this year is that it was the clinical, because it's likely to have a lot of vocabulary in OMOP already because it's being used in a clinical setting, even though it's a survey. And so they've been sharing out with me, and I've been trying to collate. So I'll reach out to them as well. So it sounds like maybe next steps would be for me to draft sort of the continuum, get feedback on the continuum, and then once we have that in order, have everybody write a blurb for their work on that continuum, and then, filter that down to what would be included in the poster. Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right, cool. All righty. Well, that's all I had for today. Is there anything anyone else wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's
No, not today.
Okay.
Good.
Well, that should keep us busy for the month. So we'll discuss on where we are at our next June meeting, which I think is like the 23rd or something. And then we'll submit the piece and see if we get accepted. And then I am going to the meeting. Obviously couldn't have the workshop if I wasn't at least there. But hopefully we'll have some others from the group who are able to go as well. Have any of you gone to the Global Symposium before? Are you interested in more information about that as well? I believe it's in October.
I just saw it's in New Jersey, right?
Yeah. It's New Brunswick.
Do they do them in Europe sometime, since it's global?
They do. They actually have they have 3 conferences a year. There's a European one, and there's an Asian one, and then the one in the States. Let me go back to the homepage for a sec. Yeah, so the 2025 Europe Symposium. I could send you the link for that, Monsi.
Yeah.
That's coming up. So if you could attend, but you wouldn't be able to present. But that is going to be in Belgium, July 5th through the 7th.
Oh yeah, you can put the link. At least I like to know what they're doing.
Yes, I'll be attending that.
You'll be at the meeting?
Great.
Yes.
It's close enough to the Netherlands.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So the first one is for the Collaborate Showcase. The second link is for the European Symposium. So that's great. Maybe you two will touch base while you're there. And we can also think about how to get representation at other other meetings, because with
Okay.
travel being what it is on the government end right now, I don't know if I'll ever get to go international. But with members of this group there, that's something to think about for next year as well.
Okay,
Good point.
So cool.
sounds good.
All right. Well, I'll let
Okay.
everybody get a half hour back. Thank you. This has been a great discussion. And yeah, I'll work on the follow-up.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.